Up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and it's already week 2 in the college basketball season. And we'll be doing our picks this week, picking some really good games. Got some more ranked matchups. And we'll just go into last week right away. We both tied here at 9-4. Picked some different games, that we got lucky with. We're both lucky to scrape at 9-4. But that Kentucky and Richmond game, we both lost. But that Gonzaga game, I'm really kind of surprised how it turned out. But obviously, you knew what was up with Gonzaga there.
I didn't think they were gonna quite dominate how they did. Obviously, they're the best team right now, and I don't think it's close. It will be at the end of the season, but right now it's Gonzaga and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And something worth noting is those that early game window, the Kansas, Michigan State, Kentucky, Duke, those were some great games as well. Really got to see who these teams were, first game off the season. And another team to mention is that Villanova UCLA game. We both got UCLA right there. But moving forward, I think these two teams are going to be really good and, at least Elite Eight teams. And that last game on the docket, I took Florida. You took Florida State there. And go tune in, make sure to go tune into our previous video of our college basketball rankings, as we got both those teams ranked. But find out where they're ranked if you go look in that video. But definitely a great game that was, and we'll head into this week. And we got a really good game to start off the week tonight. 7 o'clock, Fox Sports 1. You got Illinois and Marquette. We're both going with Illinois here, but to credit this Marquette team with Shaka Smart, I think this team is flying way under the radar, especially in that Big East this year. It's not really star-studded as it has been in the past, but I expect a good game tonight to start off the Big East Big Ten Challenge or something like
something tip-off games. It's named after some guy.
Oh, is it the Gavitt, I think?
Yes, Gavitt. But this will be a good game. I mean, going on the road, never easy in college basketball. And I think this will be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a close game, but Illinois, I think, just has too much talent. Marquette's really young right now, and they're not going to have enough.
And the game after that is Wisconsin and Providence. I'm going with Wisconsin just because I'm really big on the Big Ten this year. But still, you're both these teams are 2-0, looking to get to 3-0, and it's a big game early in the season for both these teams. But I expect Wisconsin to come out with a W strictly because that game's at home for them.
Yep, I agree with the home team gets the nod in this game. I look for not a lot of points to be scored here, two defensive teams, but Wisconsin, huge for them that they got Brad Davison back to go along with their young talent, not used to being a young team. So I look for them to fly under the radar and be a pretty good team this year.
And Tuesday, we got my school, Florida Gulf Coast, hosting USC, who's ranked 25th this week in the AP poll. So I got to show my school some love, and I got to pick them this week because, why not? But nonetheless, I think this USC team is a really good team in the Pac-12, and I expect them to be pretty decent as well.
Yeah, this is interesting here. USC's head coach, Andy Enfield, used to coach Florida Gulf Coast. He was actually the coach of the Dunk City team. So going back to his old school, playing in their building, interesting that he scheduled this game, but I got to go with USC. Too much talent here for the Eagles.
Yep, Eagles. And something worth noting, you mentioning that they're actually doing the reunion of that Dunk City team. So he'll be honored at halftime of the game. Maybe they're doing it just because he won't be able to say anything to the team at halftime, or I don't know. But I think it's gonna be a cool moment at Alico Arena, and definitely a game worth checking out just because it's at 6 p.m. and the first of many college basketball games that day. And we got Memphis, who looks really good this year with Amani Bates versus a tough St. Louis team. I'm going with the upset here. I think this is going to be the second upset of the day. but first major upset of the year. Um, and I just think that, Memphis, it seems like they always start out good and then there's one trip up. And I think this is going to be that trip up. St. Louis has got off to a hot start at 3-0. And I don't know. I just feel like the Billikens are going to get this one done.
Yeah, I do think St. Louis is underrated. They're a good team out of the A10. And I think this will be a close game. Memphis does struggle in November and early December just because they're so young typically and they haven't put it all together yet. But I think playing at home is going to be the difference here, and Memphis will get tested, but they'll win.
And another game on Tuesday night, you got really good games. Tuesday is this Houston team who's ranked 15th in the nation versus Virginia, who just dropped out. Looks like we're both going with Houston here. They've just been the stronger team, so far through 2 games. It's not really much, but I think there's a lot on this Houston team this year to, repeat last year's performance. And I think they're going to win this game.
I think Houston's going to dominate this game, personally. I don't think Virginia is going to score 50 points. I mean, you saw in their first 2 games, this team, their main problem is they can't put the ball in the basket. And I think they will get that figured out as the year goes on. But just a week ago, they lost to Navy. So they're not quite there yet. And Houston is one of the best defensive teams in the country every year. So I don't look for Virginia to score really any points in this game, and Houston should dominate on their home floor.
And the Michigan's biggest test so far. Our favorite team, we got Michigan going against Seton Hall, and it should be a really good game. But if Michigan was going on the road here, I may be a little nervous, but luckily it's at home. 9 o'clock, Fox Sports 1, definitely gonna be tuning into that one. And I got to go roll with Michigan, just because Caleb Houston has really been better than all of us Michigan fans have really thought through 2 games. And he's really not even playing like a huge part of the offense, you could say. It's more just when they give him the ball, I would say. But nonetheless, the Seton Hall team, you still got to give them credit. They'll be putting up a fight, but I think Michigan's going to pull away late.
Yeah, I look for Michigan to play with some more intensity in this game. Game 1 seems like they got up by a ton in the first half and just kind of started going through the motions and actually got into a testy game there. And then Saturday game, it looked like they were almost playing it like a scrimmage, just up by a bunch of points from the jump. So I look for them to kind of play with more intensity here and put a team away and really dominate. So I look for them to get it done here.
In our last Tuesday game, we got Oregon versus BYU, and I think this could be a sketchy game for Oregon here. It is at home, so they get that benefit of the doubt. And this BYU team, it seems like every year is a top 3 team in the West Coast Conference, with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. But I think Oregon's going to get it done at the end of the day, and it'll definitely be a great game to watch to close out the day. But just like Michigan, I think they're going to pull away late.
Yeah, Oregon kind of is like a John Beeline Michigan program where they aren't quite at their stride early in the season, and then they're really well coached by Dana Altman, so they kind of put it together late. So because of that, I think this is going to be a close game. BYU's a solid team, like you said. So I think Oregon is going to win this game late in a really close one because they're at home. But watch out for BYU.
And Wednesday, continuing those Gavitt tip-off games. Michigan State going on the road to Butler. And, it's this Butler team, pretty interesting so far this year, 3-0. To their credit, they're going to be a good team in the Big East. And this Michigan State team, pretty, they almost beat Western by double digits, or maybe they did, or not double digits, almost doubled them.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be riding that huge victory and putting that loss to Kansas in the rearview mirror. And I think they're going to get this one done on the road.
Yeah, it just feels like a Tom Izzo team is not going to fall to 1-2 in this kind of game. Although this is a big game for Butler at home. Laval Jordan, their head coach, his seat is scorching hot going into this season. His teams have really fallen apart in February and March the last few years. So they need all of these games. They need to win these games. especially on their home court. Unfortunately, I don't think they get this one done. I think Michigan State gets a 2-1.
Another game in the tip-off games, you got St. John's versus Indiana, and Trace Jackson Davis is going to take over this game and dominate. That's pretty much all I need to say. I think Indiana is a really solid team this year, but with him and he's healthy, playing his best ball, I think Indiana's going to, really show who's the better team here.
Yeah, I would say watch out for St. John's this year. They're underrated, but Indiana's size is too much for them and playing on their home court. As long as they don't get stuck playing St. John's game, which is really fast up and down the court style, then they should be fine here and win comfortably.
And Thursday, we got Ohio State versus Xavier, and we're both going with the upset here. Ohio State really shouldn't even, that 19 is very generous after these first two games. And Xavier's credit, they always have been receiving votes for these first 2 weeks for the AP rankings. And I think after this week, they're going to get one. They're going to enter the top 25 and beat this Ohio State team who's really looked, mediocre, you could say at best. And especially just because this game is at home for Xavier, I think that's just another factor that gives them that advantage. And I think they're going to get this one done.
Yeah, I know I said Michigan needs to play with more intensity, but Ohio State looks like they're just going through the motions and then some to start the year. Should have lost to Akron, really, blowing that game late. And it took a bucket with, I think, under a second left to get out of that game with a win, and then struggled their second game. So playing a good team in Xavier, I think, a top 8 seed in March Madness. So Xavier's going to be in the top 25 next week because I think they're going to handle Ohio State at home and give them a loss.
And then Friday, technically Saturday morning at 12:30 a.m., which sucks for us Michigan fans. You got Michigan going on the road to UNLV. I don't really know too much about this UNLV team, but I just think this Michigan team either way is, deserving of that 4 ranking and going to manhandle this team.
Yeah, it is a road game. Could be a game to maybe watch out for, playing at 12:30 a.m., Eastern time for Michigan and on the road. But obviously they have too much talent for UNLV, I think. I'm just more worried about how I'm going to watch this game without falling asleep.
Oh, and I forgot this Thursday, this is definitely Saturday. I screwed up that. And I think this Oklahoma East Carolina matchup is going under the radar just because neither of these teams are ranked. It's a neutral site, and I think that's going to benefit Oklahoma more than East Carolina. If this game was at East Carolina, all their students would be rocking, and this would be pretty much their game of the year. But because it's at a neutral site, I think Oklahoma is going to win this one.
Yeah, I think this will be close here. Oklahoma is really just a rebuilding program. Hired a great coach, but lost a lot of talent last year. So I do look for them to win this game in a close one over East Carolina, who I don't know a whole lot about. So I'm going with Oklahoma.
And then Saturday at 1, we got Villanova and Tennessee, and potentially the game of the weekend, or you could say maybe the next game we put up here is the game of the weekend. We're going to look to see how Villanova is going to rebound against, that tough loss to UCLA. But enough about Villanova. This Tennessee team, not really high expectations for them. But there's some expectations that this team's going to be pretty solid by the end of the year. And we're both going with Villanova here, but if Tennessee can get this win here, I think they're not going to just earn our respect, but the nation's respect as well, and move up pretty significantly.
Yeah, they would for sure. But Villanova in that UCLA game, I thought they were the better team. Obviously, they lost the game, but it was at UCLA, took them to overtime. And honestly, I watched the whole game and I couldn't even believe the game was going into overtime. It seemed like Villanova had dominated the whole game, really. So I think this is definitely a top 5 team. And I think they'll show that by beating Tennessee. similar to Tom Izzo's Michigan State team. I don't see them falling to 1 and 2.
And the game we were just talking about, it could be the game of the week in North Carolina and Purdue. You were talking about in the rankings, this Purdue team, Jaden Ivey and Zach Edey, 1-2 combo, just swap them in and out. That's going to be tough to guard for, the opposing team, not even just for the center, the whole team. Just because you can't play your center 40 minutes a game expecting to shut down these guys. I know that even in the Big Ten, Hunter Dickinson and Kofi Cockburn aren't going to lock these guys down for the whole game. And it's just going to be interesting to see how Baycott is going to handle that role for North Carolina. I got to go with Purdue here just because that size is too much for North Carolina. But nonetheless, North Carolina could still pull that upset with a new coach, could have some tricks up his sleeve and, squeak out a W here. But Purdue is going to win.
Yeah, I look for Purdue to actually win pretty comfortably in this game. If it's not the North Carolina logo that you're looking at here, I think a lot of people would say that. North Carolina, they have Armando Bacot, but outside of him, they just don't have the same talent that Purdue has in like a Jaden Ivey. They don't have that guy. So early in the season, the experienced Purdue team, I think, runs through North Carolina, wins by 10 to 12 points here.
And the last game on the docket this week for our picks is we got Winthrop and Vanderbilt. It is a home game for Vanderbilt. But I was pretty high on this Winthrop team in our, March Madness predictions video at the beginning of the year. I think this team could be a Sweet 16 team. They're returning lots of starters from last year's team. And I don't know. I just think this, the committee, you could say, will give them a lot more respect here if they go on the road and beat an SEC team. Yeah, they're not, a top SEC team, but they're still in the SEC, and the committee looks at that, especially early in the year. Both these teams are undefeated. I don't know. I just think this is going to be an upset game, and the Winthrop is going to move to 3-0.
Yeah, this is basically a coin flip game here. Winthrop was a good team last year. They're a good team this year. I think they were a 12 seed in the tournament last year. Vanderbilt, just a program falling on hard times, really. I mean, they just have had a lot of brutal years in a row here. I think Jerry Stackhouse is the guy that should be in charge. I'm just waiting for him to turn the corner. So I'm just thinking maybe this is the year that, they don't make the tournament or anything, but hopefully win more than 9-10 games like they have the last few years. So I look for them to win this game at home close.
And that'll do it for this week's picks. Make sure to tune in next week to see how we did and our results and our picks next week. Hit that subscribe button, stay up to date with us as we're almost 50 subscribers. We'll be doing our giveaway. Until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.